My suggestion to you is that we need to question the status quo and understand that, we're really not looking at a global warming crisis, in my opinion. I don't think it's a national security crisis. What I think we're facing now is a crisis of consciousness, where the fabric of our young people's personalities is under assault, and we need to step up and understand that our suspicions are actually correct, that there are things that are occurring in our society that we can control in order to safeguard their well-being. So that's our role, to basically chuck them a life ring. We can't swim for them, but we can help them get to the other side. And the aim of today, develop a better understanding of the problem, the mental health issues and the factors that contribute to it. Learn practical strategies. I hope that you'll be provided with many of those today. Take action. You as grassroots activists can make a big difference, and together we can reverse the trend.
So let's actually have a look at what we know about drug use in this country in terms of prevalence. Well, we have some great data collection surveys in this country, and that sometimes gets us into trouble because we know too much about our drug use. If you look here, this is the results of the National Household Survey in 2007. The 2010 data is just being collected. We should have those results by the beginning of next year, which will be very exciting. What you could see here is over 23,000 people are interviewed. Way out the front, alcohol is used by about 90% of the population. 45% tobacco, cannabis about a third, all of the other drugs under 10%. That means 90% of the population have not used any other illicit drug other than cannabis. Here are all the people in Australia who've never taken drugs. And as I always say, it's the most rewarding thing to see a group of young people look at this slide, because what happens is every young person in the room who's never taken drugs, who has no intention of taking drugs, their eyes pop open, their chests swell, and they move forward. It's the very first time they've ever been acknowledged, because we only ever talk about the little buggers who do it. We never ever acknowledge the huge number of young people who just simply are not involved in this culture. And what I would say to all of you today is you've got to start challenging young people when they come out with crap. When they tell you that everybody does it, that drugs are everywhere, you have to say, really? Where? Challenge, challenge, challenge. Because that's the only way we're actually going to move forward.
I seem to worry a lot. Now, everyone worries. However, when you're sitting there in your early teens contemplating your impending and inevitable death, 60 years away, and desperately searching for the meaning of life to the point that you can't think of anything else, you've got to wonder if something is going on. Perhaps this was a sign of things to come. This anxiety and that particular fear has become a recurring theme throughout my adolescent years. Yes, anxiety is healthy, but too much is anything but. Soon, what I thought was a simple fixation on the big questions revealed itself as an anxiety disorder. I lacked the ability to relax and found myself always worrying about something. As soon as one thing was solved, I subconsciously sought out another issue to be worried about, to the point that I was always stressed. This began to affect my ability to organise myself and make plans. My sleep suffered, leading to mood issues and further affecting my ability to get anything done. I fretted constantly over relationships, and my school life, while appearing completely normal from the outside, consisted of me getting through the weeks taking part in minimal activities, taking barely any opportunities. I eventually began taking antidepressants, and the effect has been nothing short of dramatic. My life now is a completely different story. I now have the energy to pursue opportunities, the enthusiasm to do them well, and the optimism to not give up when they don't go as planned. I now stay physically healthy by playing club footy with mates and going to the gym, and I found my passion for music again, taking singing lessons and even joining a choir. In conclusion, I wish for mental illness to gain the attention it deserves and to be commonly spoken about. Tell someone you've been to the physio to get a crook knee checked out and you get sympathy. Tell them you've been to the psychiatrist because you haven't been feeling great lately and wait and see their reaction. It's this view I think can be changed and must. The only way this can happen is for increased rational dialogue in society. Thank you.
Depression, on the other hand, as you have heard so eloquently from Tom, is a pervasive and relentless sense of despair that in some tragic cases can take away the desire of a young person to live. What I can say to you without a shadow of a doubt is that when we look at the young people, the 300 odd young people who killed themselves last year in Australia, 90% of them had a mental illness,
And the most common mental illness was depression. 75% of all mental health problems occur in young people under the age of 25. And it was at that moment that I started flirting with the idea of sort of specialising in adolescence, because I thought, wouldn't it be good if you could diagnose, you could treat and really communicate in an effective way with that particular population? Surely you would then be able to perhaps create some type of other alternate pathway for these young people, a better trajectory for their lives. I've said that 1 in 5 will have the problem. Here's the bad news. When you look at the stats, there's a delay of up to 5 to 15 years between the onset of the illness and its diagnosis and treatment for most young people. That is absolutely scandalous, and it is why I would be so pleased if you take this message back to your communities, back to your school, and start talking about depression in a way that is positive and is useful and is going to lead people to seek help.
For young adolescent females, it is actually abnormal to be happy with the way you look. So, I mean, I find that quite frightening. So, as we said there, nearly 80% of young women, and that continues to increase with time, are unhappy with their weight and shape, and that's regardless of what their weight and shape is. Between about 70 and 80% of young women are unhappy with their weight and shape. What about in young children? Again, people find that quite shocking, that really, even when we go as young as 8 years of age, a third of children are very unhappy about their weight, and 1 in 4 are dieting, with or without their parents' consent. So 50% of 10 to 11-year-olds are very unhappy with weight and shape, and about a third of 8-year-olds. So what are the early behavioural changes? Healthy eating is almost universal in all of the kids that I see. Now, that's very much a two-edged sword. We're constantly being bombarded with messages about being overweight or obese. We're in the grip of an obesity epidemic. So people are constantly focusing on losing weight. We have television programs, The Biggest Loser, where the most important thing is not being healthy, it's what the numbers say. So while healthy eating is not necessarily a bad thing, it's actually keeping an eye on that. So when healthy eating becomes a problem is when children make decisions about what they do on a daily basis based on healthy eating. So they won't go out with friends to a cafe because they'll have to eat cake. Or they won't go out to birthday parties because there's going to be pizza on for the sleepover.
What I'm going to do with you today is take you on a tour of the culture, a visual tour of the culture, and we'll unpack the images that our young people are being besieged with. We'll have a look at what's happening in the world of children's clothes, toys, games, magazines, billboards, music video clips. We'll look at the way that children are growing up in a hypersexualised, pornified world. We are imposing adult sexual concepts on children at younger and younger ages at a time when they're not developmentally or cognitively equipped to understand those messages. Here we have underwear sent to me from Tasmania. People send me things from all over the country. I have the most disgusting stash of material in my home. I'm always anxious if the child welfare people knock on my door. I would very likely be arrested. But this underwear is for Christmas for children. It says, "Stop staring at my bulbs, unwrap me, and try jingling this." And there are no laws against any of what I'm showing you. Who needs credit cards, girls? You don't need credit cards. You can get cash for selling your bodies. And here we have some t-shirts for toddlers and babies. The top one in red is very popular, sold in family shopping malls. Breastfed babies, stick around and enjoy the show. Here we see the sexualisation of breastfeeding. Porn star t-shirts, you probably yawn when you see those because you've seen them all the time. And then down at your bottom left, not very clear, but it says, "Who needs brains when you have these?" And that's across a girl's chest. Because girls, you don't need to value education or intelligence. You've got breasts, and really that's all you need. Make me hot, Mr. Sexpot, thank you, Girlfriend magazine. I'm going to show you 3 now from Supre. Supre is a shop for teenage girls, not even in their teens yet. Here we have Santa's bitch. The girl is owned by Santa. He's her pimp. She is owned by a sex industry figure, and we see here the influence of rap culture and pimp culture. girls are learning to present a hypersexualised and prostitute-like version of themselves to the world. Here we have the Bratz dolls, the baby Bratz. The manufacturer says these babies know how to flaunt it and they're keeping it real in the crib. Why would we suggest a baby would have anything to flaunt? Here we have 2 games being played by little girls around the world. This is the Miss Bimbo game. In this game, the aim is to become the world's hottest bimbo. 10-year-old girls are playing this game. You become the world's hottest bimbo by picking up boys in the bimbo club, having breast implants and losing weight.
The advertising industry is self-regulated. It's a voluntary code of ethics. There are no strong penalties. It's a reactionary system. It relies on complaints. Nothing will be done about an ad unless one of us complains. So it's very important to complain. The complaints are assessed by the Advertising Standards Board. And they had recent internal research after a lot of campaigning by myself, Melinda and others. They discovered, surprise, that they have been out of touch with community standards when it comes to sex, sexuality and nudity. So we expect a few changes. I think that's good to observe that it's really important to keep speaking out, and change is occurring. And if you are concerned about this issue, you are joining a huge groundswell of people who are wanting to push back and say enough. Some of you might know that I took Cotton on to task last year for having adult sexualised humour on babies' wear. The condom broke, mum likes it on top, I'm a tits man, I'm bringing sexy back, I'm living proof mum's easy. For example, just a few. The marketing manager, this went into the newspaper and actually it just took off. There were people outraged all around Australia and New Zealand. A whole lot of groups in New Zealand got on board and started calling for boycott. So it went way beyond me speaking out about it, which was fantastic. And ultimately the marketing manager said, well, we're not going to withdraw the product because there is a place in our society for provocative humour that pushes the boundaries. Does it have to be on children's wear? So we have to be pretty loud to let them know we are not happy. Contacting your MP, very important to me. A member of parliament is a representative of the voters to a parliament. We put them there because we want them to be our voice, so we have to let them know what's concerning us. They are the gatekeepers to the legislation and the policy changes that need to occur. So, just in brief, speak out. Complain, 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 don't stop. None of us sitting in this room was bombarded with all of this stuff that our kids are today. None of us. And it's not fair that we're allowing our kids to be bombarded.